These are this afternoon's top stories. Police investigate shooting at Buckley's estate. There is a water emergency in St. Lucia, and TSA workers on federal database of possible terrorists. Good afternoon and welcome to ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, 10th June 2015. I'm Carla Berridge. In national developments, the police need your help to find the assailant who shot at two males of Buckley's estate yesterday, Tuesday, at about 10 p.m. The incident has left Dwight McElevin Jacobs and an unidentified young male hospitalized. Initial investigations reveal that both men were at Ground Zero shop in Buckley's estate when an unknown armed assailant entered the shop and discharged a number of rounds, causing both victims to flee the scene. The assailant reportedly pursued the victims and continued discharging his loaded firearm. Having sustained injuries, both men ran to the hospital. They have since been treated and detained at the hospital. Anyone with information pertaining to this incident is asked to contact the Violent Crimes Unit at 467-1886, 467-1887, or 467-1888, the nearest police station or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477. Attorney General Honorable Vincent Byron believes that Exercise Tradewinds 2015 has contributed to the region's aim of advancing collaboration between security forces within the region. Byron shared that view when he addressed today's closing of the Phase 1 of Exercise Tradewinds 2015.
The dynamics of Exercise Tradewinds is a testament to our region's shared commitment to improve cooperation among the security forces and disaster preparedness personnel throughout the region. This commitment is underscored by the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative, through which our governments are working to improve citizens' safety across the Caribbean.
The maritime phase of Exercise Tradewinds took place from May 31st to June 9th. Phase 2, which focuses on land operations training, will be conducted in Belize from 14th to 24th June. And Phase 3, a key leader seminar, is planned for July 14th to 16th in Miami. It will feature regional stakeholders and decision makers. The Ministry of Social Development on Nevis has received a new Suzuki bus, courtesy of Director of Trust Services Nevis Limited, Paul Mason. Donated on June 5th, the new vehicle has already been earmarked to implement programs for the island's youth. Minister Brandy Williams expressed gratitude for the gift and gave her commitment that the vehicle would be used to advance programs dealing with the island's youth to mitigate their risk in society. In brief remarks, Mason said when he was approached by Minister Brandy Williams with the possibility of sponsoring the vehicle, he was immediately taken with the idea that it would be used in the development not just of the community, but in the development of the youth. A look at news on the regional scene. St. Lucia's Water and Sewage Company says while it is doing its best to meet water demands, residents must be wise in how they use water. Alex Bosquet of the DBS News World reports that despite the official start of the hurricane season last week, the company is expecting the hot and dry conditions to last well into the season. More in this report.
The managing director at Wasco says with the drought conditions island-wide, a water-related emergency has been declared and is still in effect. With below normal water conditions, the Water and Sewage Company has taken drastic measures to ensure a sustainable supply throughout the period of the drought, which is predicted to continue into the month of September.
What have we been doing as Wasco? The company that produces and sells water, is because of the situation as we sit and looking forward, having a very good idea of what is likely to happen if we have no rain. We have taken some measures in the north and measures in the south as well. With respect to the John Compton Dam, which supplies the majority of the areas in the north, we have augmented water supply on that system with the activation of the VANA system. We have a system in VANA which we deactivate during the rainy season, and whenever we have drought conditions, we would reactivate that supply in order to augment what we're getting out of the John Compton Dam. We also have a supply in Ravenspasso, which we also activate, but that supply does not last very long. As the drought progresses, then the supply also diminishes. So there comes a time when it will not produce enough water and we have to turn it off. But Vanna is continuing to produce water, and we're also abstracting water from the John Compton Dam. We have to manage the supply in such a way that we will continue to provide St. Lucians in every community, locality in St. Lucia with a supply, not to meet what they want, because it's impossible to do so in drought conditions, but to give people some water so that they can do the things that are essential.
Wasco's managing director urges the public to conserve water as best as possible, as he laments that the drought situation is severe. Years of deforestation, he says, is responsible for what the island is facing presently. He says it is not only the duty of homeowners to conserve water, but the private sector must play its part as well. The Hill 20 water system, which supplies certain parts of the north of the island, is one which is known to collapse rather quickly.
Surprising to a lot of people, but it does collapse very quickly. And that is because over the years we have denuded the forests, we have affected the watershed and so on. So we did this many years ago, and today we are feeling the consequences of our actions. We have two major supply sources for the Hill 20 system, and they are Maki and Talvan. Now, Talvan is a supply that really comes under pressure very quickly. And again, it goes back to what we did many years ago. Maki holds up a little bit, but Maki also, drops as well. And when they drop, what happens is that we do not get enough water coming into the Hill 20 plant. The Hill 20 plant can produce 1 million gallons of water a day, and 1 million gallons of water a day actually supplies, under normal conditions, the communities that are fed from that system. Currently, we are not getting that.
Up to Monday, Mr. Hippolyte says Wasco recorded the Hill 20 supply at only 60%, which he says is equivalent to only 600,000 gallons. Sometimes, he says, the pumps must be shut off because there is no water to be pumped from the sources, and with no rainfall, the company must wait for a buildup of water to carry out these duties. For the DBS News World, I am Alex Bousquet.
The Venezuelan government is demanding that Guyana stop all exploration by the U.S. company ExxonMobil as it pursues a decree by President Nicolas Maduro which seeks to invade his country's maritime space. Guyana has already warned Venezuela against trying to block its development, saying the rig is in Guyanese waters. Neil Max of Capital News Guyana reports.
Some 120 miles offshore, ExxonMobil has stationed its deepwater Champion rig, announcing recently a significant oil find. In the May 27 decree, the Venezuelan president claimed the rig is in Venezuelan territory. That position has been denounced by Guyana as an illegality and warned Venezuela against implementing the decree.
Venezuela mantiene su posición.
Today, Venezuela's Foreign Minister, Delcy Rodriguez, went on national television, accusing Guyana of blowing the matter out of proportion, saying the new government here has shown a dangerous political provocation against peaceful Venezuela, supported by the imperial power of an American transnational, ExxonMobil. She said until there is a resolution of the issue of territorial reclamation, there can be no unilateral use of waters offshore Guyana. As far as this country is concerned, the matter was settled over a century ago, and that's that. The May 27 decree by Maduro creates the so-called marine and island areas for integral defense, which takes in the Stabroek block, where ExxonMobil recently announced it made a significant oil find. Guyana rejected the decree as an illegality, which seeks to undermine this country's development through the exploitation of our natural resources offshore. The government of Guyana made it pellucid that the decree cannot be applicable to any part of Guyana's territory, and any attempt by the Bolivarian Republic to apply that instrument in an extraterritorial manner will be vigorously resisted by Guyana. Meanwhile, some local activists decided to vent their frustration outside the Venezuelan embassy in Georgetown today, blasting Dave Martin's iconic song, Not a Blade of Grass.
Venezuela has so much oil. What more do they want? We in Guyana need to breathe again, and Venezuela has to stop bullying us. One way or the other, it has to stop. That's why we're here.
We have to register in our time, which is today, 2015. our disgust with this decree that the Venezuelan president made. It is illegal, it is not right. I'm encouraging the people of Venezuela, half of which don't want Maduro as a president, to choose another president.
Inside, there was no reaction from the embassy officials. The Venezuelan ambassador has been handed a diplomatic note from Guyana objecting to Maduro's decree, making it clear that Guyana was not prepared to give up any of its territory, land or sea.
Internationally, the names of more than 50 TSA workers were on a federal database of possible terrorists. This comes as the Inspector General at the Department of Homeland Security delivered a critical report on difficulties that the agency has been facing.
Aviation workers with terror connections working at U.S. airports. The TSA, in charge of vetting these employees, green-lighted at least 73 people with links to terrorism.
These are airport workers, so this really speaks to the issue of the insider threat. TSA's primary way to guard against that is to make sure that these background checks are complete and they're exhaustive. And what this report says is they're not complete, nor are they exhaustive.
According to a Department of Homeland Security Inspector General report, the slip-up is a potential national security risk even the TSA acknowledges. Quote, the individuals were cleared for access to secured airport areas despite representing a potential transportation security threat. They worked for major airlines where airport vendors and other employees with unescorted access to commercial planes, the tarmac, and luggage. The misstep happened because TSA does not have complete access to every agency's terror watch list.
This is a classic example of them not working together as they should. And so who's to blame? TSA and DHS are really at lead here.
The fear, airport workers with terror links could facilitate an insider attack. In a CNN investigation, Drew Griffin uncovered employees with access to airplanes and tarmacs were not screened daily. Although the agency says it ramped up random screening after a baggage handler was caught smuggling guns onto commercial planes in Atlanta. Scrutiny over TSA's vetting process comes after embarrassing news the agency's officers failed to detect weapons and fake explosives almost every time undercover teams put them to the test.
It just points to a larger problem that TSA has in making sure that their operations are running smoothly, and it comes from leadership. And not having a leader in place for some time now, I think, has been detrimental to the agency.
A parachute has failed during a NASA test of new technology for landing larger spacecraft and eventually astronauts on Mars. BBC's Tim Alleman reports.
Balloon is released from the spool.
Like a huge jellyfish rising in the sky, a NASA balloon takes off from a launch pad in Hawaii.
Balloon is launched. Balloon is launched.
Underneath, what appears to be a flying saucer, called the Low Density Supersonic Decelerator, or LDSD. Up it drifted, serenely, sedately, climbing up to a height of around 37 kilometres. Then, inbuilt rockets propelled it even further, lifting it to the edge of space. The hope is the LDSD will be used as a landing vehicle. The thing they want to land it on is this, Mars. This test was supposed to simulate the high speeds expected during a descent on the Red Planet. Well, that was the plan, but unfortunately there was a hitch. The huge 30-metre parachute, the largest ever made, designed to bring the saucer safely down to the surface, failed to open properly. You can hear the disappointment. The LDSD then plummeted into the Pacific Ocean. Engineers say more work will be needed to strengthen the parachutes before another try next year. As one official said, this is exactly why we do tests like this. Tim Allman, BBC News.
And now the weather. Today we can expect partly cloudy weather conditions with passing showers. Temperatures will reach a high of 79 degrees Fahrenheit as winds are east at 14 to 25 miles per hour. Seas are slight to moderate with swells not exceeding 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Sunset today is expected at 6:45 p.m. while sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:36 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Berridge.